In this video, I'm going to cover how to get more guests on your podcast, all right? Or maybe your radio station, whichever kind of series or show that you might have. I personally, the Roots of Success podcast, I host that and interview guests only in person. Starting out, I did video interviews, but I had too many technical issues that I just didn't want to do it anymore like that. And I personally enjoy having like a sit down conversation with somebody and feeling like their energy and just having that presence with each other. So I feel like people tend to complicate this a little bit more than it should on actually getting guests on their podcast. Now, starting out, you need to be realistic. And I'm going to cover both sides of the story because you might not just be starting out, but this is for the starters, this segment. So starting out, having a podcast, you have to already utilize your lowest hanging fruit per se. So if somebody is like you're connected to them already, they would be a great candidate depending on like what the theme of your podcast is. So for example, I had a lot of people that had that mindset and had that mentality already. So I was able to interview, my homie that was in college, but he knew what mindset and what like energy and things were about. So he was a great example. But then you have to understand, I had to get skin in the game because a lot of people starting out, they want to interview these big people like Tony Robbins, or they want to interview somebody like, Tom Bilyeu, the founder of Quest. And some of these big entrepreneurs or even music artists, depending on, if you're in the biohacking space, you want to interview Dave Asprey or Ben Greenfield right out. But the problem is they don't want to be on your show. What? How could you say that? Because you don't have enough skin in the game. It's all about, here's the mentality you need to look at. This doesn't just go for podcasting either, but if I'm somebody like Tony Robbins, first off, he's not the one that you're going to be chatting with. He's going to have a team. They're going to be sifting through not just your podcast, but your brand and what it is that you've actually done. There's a common theme, ladies and gentlemen. These people of influence and that have built things, with all due respect, they don't want to be on shows just because. They got plenty of other things to dedicate their time towards. So you have to understand from a value perspective, what value are you giving them or are they gaining to be on your show? Oh my gosh, that's so egotistical. I don't know how. It's not egotistical. It's just they could be doing way better things with their time. Why should they feel like they should be on your show? Do you get more than 100 streams per episode? Do you get more than 1,000? Guys, these aren't numbers that are eye-catchy to these influencers and to these people you want on your show. Now, if you're talking about 100,000, if you're talking about 1 million plus streams per episode, now you're talking. Okay, so you need to understand that starting out is, one, understand who you have to work with already, and don't just be a straight shooter to the top. It's great to have ambitions. It's great to dream that you want to have these people on your show. Envision it. It'll happen, but you have to stay consistent with it, with that. So don't spend all your time and a majority of your time trying to get somebody like Tony Robbins on if you haven't even gotten somebody that isn't even at his level yet, right? You have to, could you get lucky? You could get lucky, but something else I want to talk about is having your ducks in a row, having your branding in check, having your branding in check. Because if you're reaching out to have somebody on your show, but your brand it's not in check and it's not there to the best of its capabilities, people aren't going to take you serious. If you're on private and people just can't show you, if you're on private and people they can't see you, then you really think they want to be on your show? That's one of the biggest things that has worked for me, was the fact that I took my brand seriously, and with me taking my brand seriously, others could see exactly what I was about and who I was. And then that led me to just gaining all the And there's a car out here that looks like they're about to hit this roof. It's funny. But that led me to just absolutely gaining the traction that I needed because they saw what I was about. And that's how I was able to land these influencer interviews through Instagram, through the DMs. I think the DMs is one of the greatest ways you can land interviews with people. But again, I had skin in the game. I had episodes out. I was consistent with these episodes, and that's how I did it, you know? So anyways, that's extremely helpful, is making sure that your brand, of course, is in check. And, you got to be doing something that these people want to be a part of. But most importantly, you have to provide value to these people. Don't lead in like, hey, I want to have you on my show because I think you're cool. Lead in with, hi there, Tony. I have a podcast where I interview, state exactly why you want to interview them, but state the benefit, compliment them, state the benefit of maybe if they have a book out that you would love for them to share their book across your however many thousands of audience or listeners that listen to your podcast, because you're stating the value that's in it for them. They really don't care what's in it for you. I'm just being real. They'll care about what's in it for you is if they see that your intentions are right and if you're genuine. That's what really worked out for me and that's the reason I do in-person interviews, because I know how I am from an energy perspective. And whenever I sit down to talk to somebody, every single interview that I pretty much did, they always said, Nate, if you need anything, you let me know. And then that led to be some of our greatest clients within our business. But again, I had no intention of hey, I want you as a client. I never had that in mind. And depending on how your show is, it's different for everybody. But these tips that I'm giving you, they're extremely valuable. But if there's anything that I want you to understand moving forward, have your stuff together, okay? You don't have to have the best mic. You don't have to have the best equipment. You could literally just record in an iPhone easily. And I still do that. I still record on my iPhone and I have a Yeti microphone. That's it. And I've been able to interview some really cool people. Have they been the biggest influential people in the world? It depends who you look at as influential, right? But no, I haven't interviewed people that have had the biggest reach in the world, because there's levels to it. You have to establish relationships with them. So anyways, I hope this video helps you moving forward just with your podcast or your show, whatever you may call it, because these are extremely key things. You have to have your ducks in a row, but then you have to be strategic. It has to make sense for people to want to be on your show. So I hope this makes sense. Again, I love providing as much value as I can to you guys. And by you implementing these things, this is going to make a difference. Trust me on that. So I'll see you next time.